Okay, I'm just double checking to make sure that the audio is working. Okay, great. So today we are working on our layout for our 3 pages. I showed you guys some tools last um, last week where you could go and like sketch these out or drag and drop and put things in a way on how you're thinking you might want to lay out your web pages. This week, since Bootstrap is the next step in this, and Bootstrap is also tied very heavily to layout and many things in your web page, I figured I would go straight to the examples in Bootstrap to show you some of the custom components that you can make, download, incorporate. A sticky footer nav bar. Um, Here's a starter template that has the nav and the search all at the top. You can work with the grid, the Jumbotron framework. These are different nav bars depending on how you like your nav bars to go. And again, these are slightly more advanced than just creating a web page with HTML code and then using Bootstrap to help resize and keep everything in the right perspective. So these do come with source code, so you can download all of the examples. And if you open it and extract it all, we can extract it there. You'll see it has all of these different files and folders and different things to do. If you, here's what the index page looks like. There's not too many pictures on it. This is Brave for a browser, by the way, not um, Chrome, but it has all these different assets. And again, this is a little bit more than what the class covers. At Bootstrap, we'll reference some of these in the ZyBooks lab. But if you want to get your hands dirty and get more information about it, you can download the entirety of the examples, and then like if you like this album layout, it's got a main call to action, a secondary call to action. You can then look for album in the list. Here we go. Docs, examples. This has got all sorts of code in it. What did we say? Sorry. Album. Product press. Album. So inside album, here is the page. Sorry. There you go. And this is what that looks like. Now, if we wanted to look at what that code looks like, you can always right click and inspect and then open it up and it'll bring you down into each of these different elements. But you can also open the page in your editor. And then here's the CSS file that goes along with the album. So in my case, I would say open with Notepad++. And here's that code file. Um, Now, I don't want you to have your title be album example for Bootstrap and that sort of thing. I'd like it to be your content. But if you want to use that layout, and I'll bring that back over here for your photo album with the pictures. Again, if you downloaded more than 2 or 3 and you want to show them off, if it's a um, hobby or something that has some meaning to you and you're very excited to show it off, you can replace this header with your website header that I'm going to work on today. And then you can use this bit of code here for the section. It's all these words up here. And then this is where the pictures go in this container, and then the row, and then each of these columns, which you'll learn more about next week. So next week it may make more sense to you, but I wanted to show it to you in case you wanted to look and get some ideas now. So I'm going to close this real quick and this. So one of the websites, this has both a band.html and a styles.css. It is called 7.8 example styled band web page. So it has those root values of header color, font color, background color. And if you have chosen some colors for your theme, you could use them here. And here is like your body tag and the H1, H2, H3. Now I had downloaded a bunch of butterfly pictures, which are, I had it open a minute ago. Documents, make sure they're there. All right, blue and blacks. So something I'm going to do real quick, if it lets me. Going to open the file. Pick out one, this red cracker blue butterfly. Now it has a lot of really pretty blues, right? So to make some of my color choices, I'm going to get this color picker right here, and I'm going to, let's see, that's kind of a grayish blue. And then I want, oh, it's kind of a blacky, black color. Oh, I hear a noise. Oh, somebody's watching. Hooray! All right, good. Trying to find this really pretty blue. I like that. And then I'm going to add that over here. And then I'm going to pick one more color. It's very light blue. All right. Oh, I'm sorry. You can watch it on the YouTube. I'll post it later. Um, and if you do run into any questions, I'll try to keep an eye out. The internet has been so weird. I was doing something else, um, sharing a screen with somebody else, and they couldn't get into um, a program that we were trying to work with. So first I'm going to take this root, and since this is something that is available to us as our in our zyBooks, we can totally borrow, I'm going to put that in air quotes, um, because all CSS files should start out the same way. And then, so I want to make my background color that light blue. I'm going to make my font color that dark blue, and I wonder if this light gray blue, let's see. I need this to be bigger. There we go. H1s and the H2. Oh, they do want the font color to be white because it's this. Okay, let me bring my picture back over. Maybe I will just do, maybe I'll just do a black for a different font color. Because that is, oh, don't mind the alarms if you hear them. They're not for me. We'll try this. If this is too dark, we can always change it. All right, so then our active hover color is listed as yellow, and I'm going to pick a slightly different blue from the picture, and I'm going to make it that. And then the active color will be a slightly more blue, slightly bright blue. I don't know if that's a word. Anyway, so then to add comments into your CSS, you can do this symbol, the slash star, so that you can remember what it is. And this one was light blue, gray. Oops. Half my fingers want to type G-R-E-Y for gray. The other half wants to type G-R-A-Y. And so we got G-E-A-Y, whatever that means. All right. And then this is going to be very light blue. How did I manage to copy, paste, and put the wrong thing in? Very light blue. Okay. Now, one of the bigger mistakes that people make is when they save their CSS file, it's not in the CSS folder, or it's in the CSS folder, but they don't know how to link to it. I'm going to make this just so we remember if we run into trouble. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this as a file in my folder under CSS, and I'm going to call it styles. And you can select, if you're using Notepad, the CSS, the cascading style sheet right here. So CSS, and save it. And so here's my styles.css. So in this situation here, they're linking to it and it's in the same folder. But when we link to it, I'm going to start in our index, we need to link to it in the folder that it's in. So first we put the normal things, and we're going to change our title to be, oh my goodness, where did it go? I had a window that, no, I have too many windows. Too many windows. I think it's over here. Maybe it's in my other one. Man, it had such good ideas. Oh, ha, and they've logged me out. All right, we'll see how this goes. All right, Wings of Whimsy. I had asked Google itself, not Gemini, for some interesting ideas for web page names. So Wings of Whimsy. And then to link to our style file, oh, let me get this out of the way in case anybody has questions. Um, we're going to have it be the word styles, or no, CSS. I am so sorry. CSS, and then a forward slash to go into styles because our folder looks like this. So from this document, we're going to go into the CSS folder and get to this file. So that is how we mark that in HTML from one page to another. So here we have added our head. So then we obviously are going to start our body next. And inside of that body tag, we are going to have our H1. And that will usually be the same title of as the title of the page in the head. Sometimes people add different SEO things. So like if it's a website for a company, you might see the name of the page and then a hyphen and then the company name so that this way, if you were looking for it later on, like my shopping cart, and it would say my shopping cart at Amazon.com. Forgot the H. Wings of Whimsy, and then we close our H1. Then on this document, they have a big old picture and then they have their menu. I'm just going to um, start looking at it in a, um, oops, sorry, in the way that we are going to need to for our Bootstrap. So the first thing that we want to do is add the category of nav for our HTML item. They have one down there too, but we're going to do class equals container fluid, which you'll learn next week starts that incorporates the Bootstrap into it. And for our files up at the top here to add in Bootstrap, um, we can get them right from SciBooks, and it's in that week, and then will put them into um, Blackboard so everybody can get to them. So we're going to have our container be fluid so that it flexes and grows with the width of the screen. And then our next item is going to be an unordered list, and it's going to have a class of row. And we're not going to have any words in the beginning of our unordered list. We're going to go right into our list items, and they're going to have a class which is called call for column medium, which stands for when it gets to a specific size. Like so on medium, it'll be 4 across. As it gets smaller, they'll get smaller and smaller and smaller, and then as it gets bigger, they'll take up more space. We'll give it a try. There's also ways to do where you can specify if you want to have 3 on a row or 8 on a row or 4, or then when it switches screen sizes, if you do happen to have 12, because there are 12, it goes up to 12 as far as width container columns go. But if you have it at 8 and 4 divided, but then when it switches to mobile, you want them to be on top of each other, you would change it to call hyphen SM for small and then hyphen 12, which next week you'll get to practice some of that. But if we get the basis of this down, then that's my alert. Do this right now. If we get the basis for this down this week, then next week we can work on some uh, interesting things with the images. Um, and if there's any questions about the Bootstrap, then I'll already have some examples to show you, and we'll have some code that we can play with. So we're going to have our page links. So we're going to make them hrefs. And so I'm going to, now if you can, there's two schools of thought. You can either have only the links on the page to the other pages that you have on your website. So if you are on your home page, you don't have a link to your home page, you have it to your about or contact. In my case, they're about and contact. And then when you're on your about page, you don't have a link to your about page. You only have home and contact. And then on your contact page, same thing. Or you can have a link, the same links all the time, regardless of what page you're on. I'm of the opinion that having a home page link or the same links on your pages is easier for people to understand where to go. Um, and it's not necessarily more helpful to take links away, especially older people are looking for that link and they don't realize that they're on the page. So that is, I mean, it's painful to watch when somebody's looking for the about link and they're on the about page, but you know it happens. So I'm going to make this my index page. And if you notice, I do not put in um, the dot slash or words and slash because we're in the same folder. And I'm going to call this home. Oh, sorry. And then we're going to end our li for our list item. And then since this is essentially the same thing for all three of them, we're just changing the page name and the page link. So we'll make it about. Oops. I knew my finger was on the R. I knew it. All right. And then about. And then contact. Nope, it is not a capital C. And you need to be careful on your um, capitalization. The web does not like those. Um, so if it's capital in the page name, then it needs to be capital in the URL. They are different characters as far as the ASCII set is concerned. So, and then we will end our block here, and then end our nav. Now, as you can see, I am tabbing things over and aligning them in different ways because back in the old days, that's how you could tell when different lines did different things in the old school kind of languages. And it's easier for readability, although I don't know how current generations feel about it. So if lining it up, like having an orderly sense, is something that gives you um, a good mental feel, then by all means do it. All right, we need to end our body tag, so we better not forget to do that. And end our HTML tag. Oop, I hit the S. All right, so then we're going to save this, and I'm going to go to my folder, and I'm going to see what it looks like. Okay, so here's our LIs. They still have the dot on them. If we inspect, we see that here's the link to the home page. Inside of the head, it goes to the styles.css. And I can open it in a new tab, and this is what it says. So they're linked. All right, and we got a whole bunch of them open over there. All right, so back into the coding. And I have another live stream at 6 minutes, or in 6 minutes. So I'm going to put the footer in here. So we want it at the very bottom, and then we'll fill in the content in the middle next week, or while we're working on it this week. And it's going to be a P, and then a href. Well, it doesn't even have to be a href. It can be percent copy 26. And this would be where your name goes. P tag, and then we end the footer. And then next week we can add some styles for styling the footer and some of our images. And I might even break them up into 2 hours or 2 separate hours for this. So in between here, we're going to have our mains. It's really just one main. And then our different sections for our D section. And then depending on how many different sections you want, you can add IDs for each of them. So we'll work on that as far as our content goes. In each of these areas, we'll add code similar to this like we did for this up here. And you'll see more of that when we do the Bootstrap next week, which should help to get everybody on some easily designed layouts, I guess is. So then let's see, div, no, div. Oh, I'm missing a div. But you can see how they light up when you're not in the right one. All right, there we go. So for our section, like we can say ID equal introduction. And then put in an H2 because we already have our H1. Bitter. Ha! Blue butterflies. And then I'll probably put some pictures here and maybe a little bit about some of the butterflies. Try to pick something new every year to be stylish on. So, let me see real quick. There we go. I was thinking that that was the issue. So when you attach or have any sort of CSS or JavaScript in this case, your styles need to come after it. And I absentmindedly just copied and pasted it in, so it overwrote my styles. So as you can see here, we still have to do a little bit of work to make our menu be the sideways menu. And let me close this without the little dots so that, let me scroll down here. Oh my heavens, get over here. Come down, and then I'm going to have to. Whoop. So this, they don't have the little dots here. I want to make this more buttons across, like kind of like these nav bars up here with the little buttons. Probably not a search bar, but just all the way across and have it be a specific color background. And then these be a different color link, perhaps bold. So we'll start doing some of that. But the interesting thing that you can do for all of this now is this is your navigation, and this is the top part of almost all of your pages, right? So you can copy and paste them into your other pages and then fill in the content sections because then you'll have your header and your footer already set. So we've gotten, I guess, 25% of the final done if you copy all of that over, and we just have some content, the images, and the JavaScript forms. So I don't want to say it's an easy project because if somebody's struggling with it, I don't want you to think that it's easy. It's easy for me. I've been doing it for my whole life. So I will post this to YouTube and share some of my code. And I got to go do the next classes. student engagement session. So thank you for joining me. Bye.